Welcome to BikeBeat. We're diving into the 2025 Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, a motorcycle that continues to embody the soul of the classic roadster while adding a few modern touches that make it relevant in 2025. This machine is one of those rare bikes that manage to bridge eras. It's as charming and nostalgic as it is approachable and usable in daily riding. In this review, we'll take you through how it rides, what's changed for 2025, how it looks, how it feels on the road, and whether it's still worth your money. The Interceptor 650 runs on a 648 cubic centimeters parallel twin engine that's air and oil cooled, featuring an 8-valve SOHC setup and a 270-degree crank. This engine layout gives it that signature thumping twin sound while ensuring smooth torque delivery across the rev range. Power figures remain at around 47 brake horsepower at 7,250 revolutions per minute and 52 Nm of torque at 5,250 revolutions per minute. That might not sound like much compared to the bigger, sportier machines out there, but the way this engine delivers its power makes the Interceptor one of the most usable bikes in its segment. The mid-range punch is right where you want it for both relaxed city cruising and steady highway runs. You can potter around town in third gear all day without touching the clutch, or twist the throttle on open roads for a satisfying surge of acceleration. What makes this twin stand out is its character. It feels alive without being intimidating. The throttle response is clean, the fueling has improved over earlier models, and the vibrations, while still present to give it personality, are refined enough to keep long rides comfortable. The 6-speed gearbox shifts smoothly, with short, confident throws, and the slipper clutch adds a touch of modern practicality. It's one of those bikes that invites you to take the long way home, not because it's the fastest, but because it feels so engaging at every speed. Handling-wise, Royal Enfield has done a commendable job keeping the Interceptor balanced. At about 214 kilograms wet, it's not light, but it carries its weight low and evenly. The wide handlebars give great leverage, and the chassis geometry keeps the steering neutral and predictable. The suspension is traditional, a 41mm telescopic fork at the front and twin gas-charged shocks at the rear, but tuned for comfort and stability rather than aggression. The ride quality is forgiving on rough roads, though heavier riders or those carrying a pillion might find the rear a touch soft. The bike feels planted through corners, encouraging you to lean it over just a bit more each time. It's not razor sharp like a sport bike, but it's steady, smooth, and confidence-inspiring. Braking comes from a 320mm front disc and a 240mm rear disc, both with dual-channel ABS as standard. The braking performance is solid, progressive at the lever with a good initial bite. You don't feel like you need to grab a handful to get it to stop, and the ABS calibration feels well judged for mixed conditions. The tires, Pirelli Phantom Sports Comps, complement the bike's personality perfectly, offering a good mix of grip and durability. Visually, the 2025 Interceptor 650 hasn't strayed far from its beloved retro identity. The teardrop fuel tank, twin pea-shooter exhausts, wire-spoked wheels, and round headlamp continue to define its silhouette. However, Royal Enfield has refined the details. The new model gets subtly revised color schemes, improved switchgear, and tighter panel gaps that give it a more premium presence. The paint quality has improved noticeably, and depending on the variant, you can now choose from several dual-tone and metallic finishes that add depth to its classic lines. It's one of those bikes that looks just as good parked outside a cafe as it does tearing down a coastal highway. The riding position remains neutral and upright, with mid-set foot pegs and a wide handlebar that puts you in complete control. The seat height of around 804mm makes it accessible to most riders, and while the cushioning could feel firm on longer rides, it's comfortable for everyday use. The pillion seat, however, is still on the smaller side, adequate for short trips but not ideal for long two-up journeys. Instrumentation stays true to the retro theme. Twin analog dials flank a small digital readout that provides the basics: fuel gauge, trip meter, odometer, but not much else. It's minimalist, functional, and easy to read even under bright sunlight. You don't get fancy TFT screens or smartphone connectivity, but honestly, that's part of the bike's charm. It keeps the experience pure, mechanical, and focused on riding rather than menus and settings. When it comes to features, Royal Enfield keeps things simple and effective. The LED lighting setup offers better visibility without losing the vintage look. The switchgear quality feels improved and more tactile.
the build quality as a whole seems more robust than in earlier generations, reflecting the company's growing global ambitions.
The chrome accents are tasteful, the welds cleaner, and the finish is more refined. Every time you run your hand along the tank or twist the throttle, you sense the effort that's gone into improving the tactile experience.
Now, let's talk money.
As of 2025, the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 is priced starting at around 3.32 Indian rupees lakh ex-showroom in India. Depending on color and optional accessories, that figure can go a bit higher. Still, for a parallel twin 650 cubic centimeters motorcycle with this level of finish, performance, and brand heritage, it's an unbeatable value proposition. In global markets like the UK, it's priced at roughly £6,700, placing it firmly in the affordable retro category. That pricing makes it one of the most accessible twin-cylinder motorcycles you can buy today, one that doesn't compromise on quality or experience.
The Interceptor's unique selling points lie in its simplicity and authenticity. It doesn't pretend to be something it's not. This bike isn't about raw performance figures or cutting-edge electronics.
It's about feel, the mechanical connection between rider and machine. The 270-degree crank gives it that charismatic rumble, the linear torque makes it easy to live with, and the design reminds you of a simpler era of motorcycling. It's a machine that welcomes both new riders and seasoned veterans who appreciate an honest motorcycle.
What also helps its case is the brand's growing reputation for reliability and after-sales support.
Over the years, owners have clocked serious mileage on these twins with minimal issues. Service intervals are practical, parts are affordable, and the widespread dealer network means you're never far from assistance. This combination of reliability, affordability, and charm makes the Interceptor a truly global motorcycle.
Of course, no machine is perfect.
The Interceptor's weight can feel noticeable at slow speeds or when maneuvering in tight spaces. The rear suspension, while comfortable for solo riding, can feel soft with a pillion or luggage.
But again, those omissions are deliberate. It's a back-to-basics motorcycle for those who ride for the love of riding, not for electronics doing the job.
On the open road, it's easy to fall in love with this motorcycle. The engine hums smoothly as you settle into a relaxed 100 km/h cruise, the exhaust note deepens, and the bike feels unhurried and composed. Overtaking requires just a twist of the wrist, and even after long stretches, fatigue remains minimal. It's a motorcycle that encourages you to slow down, to enjoy the ride itself rather than race to the destination.
For 2025, Royal Enfield hasn't tried to reinvent the Interceptor, and that's a good thing.
Instead, they've refined what worked: smoother fueling, slightly better materials, improved paint and chrome finishes, and subtle tweaks that make it even more enjoyable to live with.
The charm remains untouched, the identity intact, and the experience more polished than ever. That's it for today's episode of BikeBeat.
If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 2025 Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, hit that like button, subscribe for more honest, in-depth reviews, and let us know in the comments what you'd like us to cover next. Ride safe, and as always, keep the rubber side down.